Hello, Internet.
Wait. I thought we said we were going to do hi, Internet.
Why would I say hi? I always say hello.
I know, but this isn't the show. This is a commercial for the show. I thought we said we were going to do it different.
I always say hello, Rod.
All right, fine. Say it whatever way you want to, Chris. It doesn't matter what I say anyway.
Hello, Internet.
You did, fine. You got your hello in. And now I'm Rod Morgan. You can listen to us on Balls and Brew, where we'll argue about many things, even more inane than what you just heard us argue about there. I promise. Right here on the Morgan Podcast Network. Come on in, guys. Let's talk about Survivor Season 42. My name is Rod Morgan. I am your host, and with me is my co-host in life and my co-host on this podcast here on the Morgan Podcast Network, produced by Jimmy Jamariska. It's the Mrs. Morgan, Kate Morgan.
Hello.
We are here to talk about episode 11, Caterpillar to a Butterfly. The way we begin every time is we go to the Mrs. Morgan, with a quick and dirty recap. Here we go.
Okay, so this is going to be incredibly quick because we are going to spend most of our time talking about the twists and turns in this episode and making our predictions of our remaining people in the game. So, quick and dirty recap. We have one challenge and one challenge only in this episode, and that is an immunity challenge coupled with a do or die twist. So what this means ultimately is that Jonathan and Lindsay are the only two players who choose to compete in this challenge. Jonathan wins, and Lindsay must play do or die at Tribal Council.
Jonathan, challenge beast once again. If I was a better Survivor host, I'd have a note right now that tells me exactly how many challenge Jonathan has won, but it feels like 567 is how many he's won. That's what it feels like.
But Lindsay is always his closest competition, so it does make sense that it's the two of them going head-to-head in this balance endurance challenge, but he does come on top. And then we have Lindsay going to Tribal Council, playing the do or die challenge that we'll talk about in just a second. And which she wins. She actually wins it. So here we go, Survivor Universe. And it forces a vote among the remaining tribe members.
Drea then uses her knowledge is power advantage and asks Mike if he has an idol, because that's what she's allowed to do. She's allowed to ask a player if they have an idol or an advantage. She decides to ask Mike if he has an idol. He says he does not because Omar, the only person that Drea told of her plan to ask Mike with her knowledge is power advantage, tipped him off just moments before Tribal Council. He doesn't have it in his pocket, and because he doesn't have it on his persons, Mike does not have to give the idol to Drea. She is up for vote, and she ultimately is voted out.
Very sad day for my Drea, who has been my favorite for a long time, but she had to go home. She took it well, just like Hai did in the episode prior. I like this energy that players who are eliminated are bringing when they are voted off. I think it shows their respect for the game and their respect for one another as human beings, and I sort of appreciate that this season.
I'm going to shout out somebody here that we don't shout out very often on this podcast, and that is the Survivor producers. Now, that's Probst himself, the man that we love, the Emmy winner, but that's also a Matt Van Wagenen, I believe his name is, and a few other people. Love their decision to not let us know if Omar actually did tip off Mike or not.
They showed us that.
No, but it wasn't until the challenge. We had no idea until they got until the immunity. Yeah. No, I mean, they ultimately showed us the footage, but I love their decision to not show us beforehand. So we were ultimately surprised when she asked Mike, because I was on the edge of my seat with like, oh my goodness, is this about to go down?
It created some real nice suspense for Tribal Council that I appreciated as well. So, okay, let's move into the twists and turns, which made up a lot of this episode. So the do or die challenge is back.
So basically what the do or die challenge is when they all arrive to play the immunity challenge, Jeff lets them know that they have a choice here, okay? The first person that is out in said immunity challenge must play the do or die game. However, you can choose to not compete in the immunity challenge at all, and by not competing, you are exempt from having to play do or die. So ultimately, everyone but Jonathan and Lindsay say, you know what? I'm good. You guys have fun with that. I'm not interested in having a 1 in 3 chance of being out of the game.
And I think it makes good sense going up against a competitor like Jonathan. He's always one of the last people left. He's excellent at immunity challenges. And I'm not sure I would have gone up against him either. Lindsay, it shows her and her competitive spirit and some footage of her playing high school football as the only female on her team.
Never would have guessed that.
And just like a fierce competitor who just couldn't turn down a challenge. And there's respect to be had there, right? Like, and she says, I clearly wasn't thinking, because there's no way she would have been voted off. She was not up for being voted off at all at the upcoming tribal council. She was pretty much safe.
But you know what I think she really does have the right to be here is angry, because literally now again, this is all up to the editing, but they talk to us about how Lindsay and everybody is all in on we got to get Jonathan. We got to do everything we can to get Jonathan. Let's not do Jonathan. And then what happens with all these people that were just talking to Lindsay about getting Jonathan? They're like, you know what? I'm not even really going to take a shot at getting Jonathan.
Because it's ultimately an individual game. At the end of the day, like, yeah, we want to get folks out, but like not if it compromises my own safety.
Not me, other guys.
I am not about to play do or die. So at Tribal Council, what do or die is, it essentially involves Lindsay picking one of 3 boxes. 2 of the boxes have skulls in them. 1 of the boxes has a flame in it. She wants to pick the one with the flame. That is what secures her safety in the game. So she starts with the 3 boxes and she chooses correctly. She chooses one that doesn't have a skull. She doesn't know what's in the 2 that are left over, but she knows that there's one that's out. Probst then gives her the decision, hey, you can stick with the box that you wanted, or you could switch with this other box. Real Monty Hall, let's make a deal, let's see what we're gonna do here. And Hai is actually saying, from the jury, you always switch. Your percentage is better if you switch. And she does not. She goes with her gut, which is exactly what happened in season 41. And that's how Deshawn was able to stay in the game as well. They stuck with their guts and she didn't have to go home and she was safe.
Here's the deal, all right? I am not the biggest math wizard in the entire world, okay? But when she chooses her first box, which, by the way, she chose the middle box, she then has a 33% chance at that point of getting the correct box, okay? When the producers take away a box, guess what? One of the boxes they're taking away, they know isn't the one, okay? So in the way I look at it, your chances don't go up or down. You got to stay because you had a 33% chance at the beginning, and you don't necessarily have a 50% chance at that point because the factor of you already choosing a box and them taking away one that wasn't a possible win, it all factors in. You got to stay.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too, especially since she was saying that it was her gut that was leading her on this and that was the box that she wanted. You don't go against your gut. If your gut is telling you to do something, you go with it. Like,
well, not always. Listen, sometimes your gut can be wrong.
I think it's mostly right. Okay, so anyway, so she is safe. Well, so Drea, we'll pivot to her a little bit, who is the one who is sent home, who has also remained silent about her advantages for a long, long time, and she has had a variety of them, decides to tell Omar
bad decision
that she is going to target Mike with her knowledge is power advantage. And so by doing this, Omar, who is just this sneaky, nice villain, he tips off Mike. They show us at Tribal at the last minute. Mike gives his idol to Omar for safekeeping, and he doesn't have to give anything up.
Omar is just like wielding a big knife and like smiling and laughing and like having great conversations with everybody. And then like when the time comes, just slicing dudes up. That guy is the nice villain. I love your term there, Mrs. Morgan. You know, I hope that really sticks with fellow Survivor do-rag fans out there, or Survivor buff fans, excuse me. It's not really a do-rag, it's Survivor buff fans out there. Yeah, let's make that a thing, because I think that's the perfect description of Omar's game. But I think we also need to mention here, Lindsay, our girl, with Hai out, the advantage amulet became a steal a vote between her and Drea, and now that Drea is out, Lindsay has an immunity idol.
Yes. So that moves us into our people and our predictions. So we have Lindsay, who now has an individual immunity idol, which we believe can only be played through the final 5. So she would be foolish not to play it at one of the next 2 tribal councils?
I brought up to the Mrs. Morgan before we started taping tonight's episode, I believe we could get maybe like a Sari situation here, right? Do you remember Sari, a fan favorite? They went to a tribal council and basically everybody involved in the tribal council except her had some sort of advantage or immunity idol, and so she just went home on a non-vote. I wonder if we see that next week. That'd be crazy.
Well, it would be crazy because I think Omar's the only person who doesn't have any kind of advantage, right? And he is pulling all the strings with all of the players, and I think he has a very strong chance of winning this thing. We also have Jonathan, who was very hangry this last episode, and he's getting real upset that nobody's thanking him for all of the things he does. And Jonathan, I get it. Like, I totally get it. I'm not even mad at you because I agree with you. You are doing a lot of stuff all the time. You're not eating nearly as much as what you're used to. You're fussy, and you have every right to be fussy. And Jonathan, I still like you.
And Jonathan also has kind of proven the other arc that we see on Survivor from time to time where everybody loves, they're all chummy at the beginning of the season, and then every confessional you see is basically just people just stabbing Jonathan in the back. Jonathan this, Jonathan that. I can't believe Jonathan did this. We got to get Jonathan. So you can't stay on the top at Survivor forever. But on the complete opposite end of Jonathan, who people are always talking about, we have Kate's other person.
We have Romeo, the 14-pound toddler, who is sneaking all the rice out of the pot. While Jonathan is putting fishnets to get back together and shit. Like, I get it. Like, I totally get it. But I also get where Romeo's coming in. He's just kind of like, fuck y'all. I'm going to do me at this point. Because I know I'm just flying under the radar, but I also know I'm an easy vote out, too. And nobody has or will tell him a goddamn thing about anything that's going on.
Well, they sort of throw like a sacrificial bone his way almost real quick before tribal. Like somebody kind of looks at him and says, "No, we're going this way." And Romeo's like, "Really?" And like you can see his eyes all light up. He's like, "Somebody's talking to me before a vote." But somebody who also could feel Romeo's pain is Marianne, right? Even though we talk about how Marianne's mouth moves a mile a minute and she is not afraid to engage in any conversation and tell anyone her opinion, she's actually kind of under the radar at this point. And I'm semi-proud of my arch nemesis Marianne, who I always seem to be talking bad about on this podcast, because she said she was not going to tell anyone about her idol that she found in the woods. And as of last episode, she still has not let anybody know.
Then last but not least, we have Mike, who, when Drea leaves, says, "Mike, you're the one who's going to win this game." And Mike then says, "Man, that's the kiss of death," which it very well could be. And I think Drea was strategic in saying those words about Mike before leaving, too.
Yeah, Drea definitely was always trying to think and spin things forward. So I think perhaps she knows that Omar is going to win, and perhaps she respects Omar's game about how he got her and she had no idea about it. So maybe she's trying to help him along. I don't know. But I thought, Mrs. Morgan, something that might be fun is we have 6 people left as we go into tonight's penultimate episode. All right. I see it as 3 categories of people on Survivor. You have your goats, who are just coming along for the ride but aren't going to get any votes. You have your dark horses, who you maybe wouldn't predict as a winner, but they might surprise you in the end. And then you clearly have your favorites. We got 6 people. Who would you say are our goats on the island? I think it's pretty clear, the goats.
Yeah, the goats are Romeo and Marianne, I think, for sure. But with Marianne's individual immunity idol, I think that could come in quite handy. And if she plays it well, I think that could earn her some votes on the jury, too.
I think basically Marianne has really put herself in a good position to outfox Romeo, right? And kind of stick around and then be that, hey, you guys kind of want to take me to the end with you, right? Like, I think she can kind of outfox Romeo with her idol and sort of get to the end with Romeo, but I just don't. I think her age is also going to play against her here as well. I think that kind of factors in. I just don't think anybody's going to vote to give her, someone her young as her, that much money.
She's so young, but I don't think anybody's going to vote for Romeo. Like, no. I don't think there's a shot in hell like that anybody is gonna vote for Romeo to win this game. So I would say it is safe, even though Survivor has its ways, to say that Romeo's out.
I think you're probably right about that. Romeo could be out in this episode you're going to watch a little bit later this evening. And thank you for tuning in to your favorite 15-minute or less Survivor recap here on the Morganino Podcast Network. Come on in. But our second category is Dark Horse. Right? And I think I'm going to start the first dark horse because it's somebody who I think was a favorite early on, and he's been a favorite of mine, probably because he looks like a professional wrestler, but that's also a different podcast. But I think Jonathan's a bit of a dark horse now because of the big target he has on his back.
I tend to agree with you, which is why I also think Mike is another dark horse too. Another big guy, another guy who's doing stuff around camp. Yes, likable, but are they super, strategic in the moves that they're trying to play in this game? Probably not. And so that's why I'm not sure that either of them really has a chance to win, especially Mike, because Omar is really, I don't know, he's just playing him like a puppet and has been in a few different situations. And that is why under favorites, I have Omar and Lindsay.
Here's what I think it's going to come down to, okay? Omar is going to have to give a pretty convincing argument, which I think he can, right? Because we've seen some of his behind-the-scenes dealings, but you don't hear as many people throwing Omar's name out as the guy who is the shot caller around camps. They know Lindsay. They see her doing well in the challenges. I think Lindsay's going to be top of mind. But if Omar uses those villain swaying powers of his, he could definitely come out on top.
But that's why he's going to win, because he's so likable and he's the person that everyone seems to trust. And he is very likable and very honest. And so people go to him, give him all of their information, and he just plays with that information very wisely. And I think that's what's going to win him in this game. And that's the argument that he could make.
You know how likable Omar is? The Mrs. Morganino just gave him 2 likables within the same description, and it was completely earned and completely justified. That's absolutely how likable Omar is.
Except the shirt.
That's true. We talked about the shirt last week. But I just think it's exceptional that this guy somehow has managed to keep that good of an opinion from everybody. Meanwhile, he's the one slicing dudes' throats out here. Like, it just doesn't work out that way for people often. What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot here again, Mrs. Morganino, as we're getting ready to close up shop. What do you think it is about Omar that allows him to be this bubbly, everybody loves him, but is just slitting throats behind the scenes? What do you think it is?
Well, I think that it's a combination of being extremely smart and also a nice person. I think in his everyday life, he's probably a very, very nice and kind person. He's a veterinarian. I don't think you go into that field if you're not a naturally kind human being. And then on top of that, being really, really smart and knowing the entire time that you're playing a game, but still having those niceties come through in all of your conversations, because that's also who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think basically what you're getting at there, and I think it's one of the biggest skills on Survivor, is using all of your skills, but ultimately understanding that every move you make should be in furtherance of a game. You're not actually there to make friends. You're not actually there to have a getaway on a beach and have, an excursion type vacation memory. You're there to try to win $1 million, and all of the things that you can do at your disposal, you should probably do in an effort to try to win $1 million. And sometimes I, even as watching it on TV, forget that.
Yep.
So I think that's a good thing to think about as you go into tonight's penultimate episode. Remember, we're getting ever closer to crowning a sole survivor. Someone is going to outwit, someone is going to outlast, someone is going to outplay, and we're going to do our best to outtalk all of the other Survivor recaps in 15 minutes or less here on the Morganino Podcast Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mrs. Morganino, thank you so much for writing up our outline and being a great co-host.
Thank you. I do have one last question, though.
Ooh.
Who do you want to win?
Jonathan.
Yeah, I want Mike to win. I really do. I just like him. I think he's a dear man. I think that he's lived a good life. I would really like to see Mike win.
I've just found myself randomly sticking up for Jonathan a couple of times as we watch the episodes, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, they're just like, I don't know what it is about Jonathan. But clearly, it's because he looks like my guy. Shout out to the World Wrestling Federation, and he's injured right now, but he looks like my guy, Rick Boogs. And I think that was enough for me. So go, Jonathan.
Yes. Go, Mike. And then my runner-up would be Lindsay. I really like Lindsay a lot, too. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Females, go. Thank you very much for tuning in. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.